Good morning. Let the thoughts of this moment be thoughts of tenderness and gratitude. Tenderness because of the man in whose memory we are now gathered. Gratitude for all that has been lovable throughout the years. Tenderness toward every human frailty. Gratitude for a life known intimately and held in honor. Gratitude for strong ties of family affection. Gratitude for the privilege of knowing and of sharing with one another our experiences of joy and sorrow. Gratitude for opportunities to help and care for one another, which enable us to believe that our lives count. We would not be spared the consciousness of sorrow and loss. As our experience deepens, we pray our understanding of one another deepens also. And may we win from our joys and sorrows the wisdom of patience and sympathy, the courage to live faithfully, and the confidence that dark hours may have special meanings. And may we gain a deepened sense of the sacredness and worth of a life well lived. Amen. The ancient sage offers us words of comfort. God, what are we that you are mindful of us, or indeed those who come after us that you take account? Our lives are as vanity, for our days pass away as a shadow. In the morning we flourish and blossom forth, in the evening we are cut down and wither. You turn us to contrition and demand, return, O ye children. If you were wise, you would consider your end, for when you die, you shall carry nothing away. Your glory shall not descend after you. But trust this, God does redeem the souls of the servants. None of them who trust shall be forsaken. Jewish tradition asks us to grapple very seriously with the meaning of life and death in this ritual of funeral and burial. And it prescribes a prayer where we seek to find a way to understand the harshness of the decree that has happened. We affirm, Hatzor tamim polo ki chod rachav mishpat el emunah ve'einav el tzadik v'yasharhu. Hatzor tamim b'chol poal mi yomar lo ma tifal hashalit b'mata uv'ma'al memit u'mechayeh morid sha'o v'ya'al, which means, Thy work, O God, is perfect, for all thy ways are justice, a God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and right. Who can say, What doest thou? Thou bringest death and giveth life. What mortal can demand of thee? What hast thou wrought? Thou alone, O God, dost righteously apportion both life and death. In thy hand is the destiny of all souls. Thou wilt not forget us. Thy mercy will surely abide with us. Baruch atah, Dayan ha'emet. Blessed art thou, Judge of truth, who dost ordain death and summon us to life. And so we live with the reality of death, and an untimely death in Mike's case, and the great sadness that it has brought, and we live also with the joy and the life that he had. Life offers us the gift of so many blessings. None is more precious than the love of family and friends. In the strength and compassion of parents, in the mutual devotion of husband and wife, of brother and sister, we find the security of love. The landscape of our years is peopled by the presence of open hearts that exact no price for the gift of themselves. So when a loved one dies, sadness is a normal response. Two people cannot share the best and worst of life in mutual experience and find that absence is trivial. Truly, the tribute of love is the pain of separation. I've been thinking about Mike since I heard from Shelley and Aaron last week and saw for myself just how sick he was. I remembered back to our discussions around your wedding, Shelley, and his beaming pride at your wedding, Aaron. In those interactions and in those ceremonies, I met a man who was crazy in love with this woman, with his children, and with life. He wanted just to celebrate and be with those who he loved the most. So then I was forced this morning a little bit to chuckle and shake my head in wonder when the article in the paper brought me back to that picture, to the television ads and the outsized personality that he put up on the small screen, by which so many people remember him. And as you all know so well, both that real family man, that was the center of his core, and this outsized personality were Mike. I think he really enjoyed the fun, the show-offy kind of stuff that those ads gave him, that his business gave him. But you also know that the most important part was the family part. He learned what it meant to be an entrepreneur from his father, with whom he was close. He learned that hard work, dedication, and the hours it took. But maybe the greatest lesson he learned was that he could do two things. He could teach his sons about business, obviously, and he could let them go out on their own as well. That you, Aaron and Harley, both followed in his footsteps and did it your own way, filled him with great pride. Shelley, you were the love of his life. He never really quite looked at you. I remember this. Rather, he beamed at you. The two of you were happiest together, even side by side, doing your own things. It was the together part that mattered. The cars and the shows gave you a world of travel and fun. Your friends are legion, and their hearts break for you, even as they miss him as well. You gave him the gift of Jessica, and with the boys, the two of you took every opportunity to shower love and intention on your 7 grandkids. They've been the fulfillment of a life well lived. I'd like to ask Harley first, and then Aaron, to come and talk about their dad.
Morning. June 9th, 2011, potentially the best day of my life. The day my first daughter, Cher, was born and I became a dad. I'm also guessing that May 6, 1976 might have been his best day, or at least it should have been because that was the day I was born. At 35, I couldn't believe I was finally a dad. To me, being a dad was like being king. There was great pride, yet tremendous pressure to care for another life. If you have a child, you know it's the best job in the world. The true job you dream of when you idol your parents. It's the day you know you have true meaning in life. And for Aaron and me, our dad was our king, the man, the one who always got it done, the one who always thought of us first, the one who we have learned so much from in business, life, relationships, and even impulsively buying random garbage way too often. And if you've been to our houses, you know exactly what we mean. My dad did it all. Sure, he didn't have a college degree, nor did he come from much money, but he had street smarts, and no one would outsmart him. No one. He was a true original and grinded his way to building a window empire in Cleveland and became the largest window retailer in Ohio against all odds. My dad did it. Sure, he worked 70 hours a week for years, but he also would do anything for Aaron and I. He was there in the morning when we got up and at night before we went to bed. He was there for us whenever we needed him and oftentimes when we didn't. But make no mistake, he was always there for us. For many of you out there today, you know Mikey from his days running Regency and saving people, as he would say, a lot of money. And boy, did he love that phrase. Even now, people will remember his face that was all over Cleveland TV for years. Even 13 years later, after his retirement, it's hard to have a week go by where someone didn't ask how Mikey was doing. He was universally adored and respected. Others know him as a classic car lover, and everyone knows him as a very generous and caring person. But Aaron and I wanted to share some of the memories we had of our father, our king, and of course Papa Mikey, what the grandkids called him. If you knew Mikey, you knew he loved cars, all cars. Crazy as it was, as optimistic as my father was, he bought a car 3 weeks ago, returned it and bought another one 2 weeks later. That is not a joke. It's for real. In fact, since we lived out of state, we often rented a car. And the first question out of his mouth would almost always be, "So what kind of car did you rent?" He even wanted to know our rental car, and he would be infatuated with talking about the car. "Do you like it?" It was crazy. Trying to stump our father on the make, model, and year of a car was next to impossible. He knew them all. He was a die-hard car guy, and he dedicated his free time, and Shelley's, to attending car shows, car auctions, car washes, anything with a car. He was also legendary for buying other things besides cars, and not because he could afford to, because trust me, unlike myself, and there are very few things he has that he bought that were luxurious. For example, he thought jeans and a dress shirt should cost no more than $45. It was like a hobby for him. And perhaps his first addiction was talking clocks back in the 90s. He must have had 20 of them, and if anybody visited him back then, he would know, because on the top of the hour, you'd hear 20 people talking about what time it was. He had 100 hats, 50 pairs of sunglasses, 100 watches, and make no mistake, these were $10 or $20 items. And when Amazon.com became an online superstore, they were at his house daily, and I mean daily. Also, he had a sense of humor, and he was always had his to-go-to joke, which he even told the doctor the day we left the hospital. It went like this: "You have Up Doc on your shirt." And of course, most people would fall for it and say, "What's up, Doc?" And he would always put a smile on his face. It was his to-go-to joke. "What's up, Doc?" Our dad taught us a lot, especially over the last few days. He taught me that death is a part of life. It is what it is, as he famously would say. He knew he was fighting against the odds, but he never showed weakness. Doctors would ask him what his pain number was. And if he said 5 out of 10, that would mean 10 out of 10 for anybody else. He was a true fighter. Our hearts are heavy, and we will remain infinitely sad, but our dad would tell us, "Go on what you have to do, boys. Go do what you have to do. And everything will be all right." To him, we were the boys. He coined that phrase. People still use it today. I'm 42. For us, he was an amazing father, husband, Papa Mikey, and even, as he would be like to call, Chicken Man, as he would always say to the grandkids. Being a huge music fan, I often find amazing phrases and songs, and there's one by a band I love with lyrics that go, "Love is watching someone die." We watched our father die this week, but we have also watched our father enjoy his life, his way, every day, without regret. This has been the hardest week of my life, and now that he has passed, I won't be able to say the word to the man I love so much, the word that means so much to me, Dad. But I will carry on his legacy and be the amazing dad to my kids that he was to Aaron and I. I know he's only physically gone, but will forever live with us in our hearts, minds, and souls. God bless you, Dad.
Good morning. I'm Aaron, Mikey's younger son. I'm touched and humbled by the outpouring of good vibes from so many heart-centered people here today. Between the calls, the texts, and everyone here, the support is really breathtaking. The man, the myth, the legend, my dad. Also my brother and my best friend. I never thought in a million years we would lose our father at such a young age to such a vicious disease. It's challenging to utilize any man to capture the words and all the details that make up a life and the essential truth of a person. He's had a profound impact on the life I live today and on the person I became. I was fortunate enough to have a rather simple yet powerful and loving relationship with my dad. The best way to sum up our relationship with one word is hero. Webster's dictionary defines hero as a person who is admired or idolized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. That was our dad. A little guy, 5'6" at best, but a heart bigger than Mount Everest and the strength and toughness of Mike Tyson, which is why I always called him Iron Mike. Reflecting on my father's life, I keep coming back to one thought. You will never meet a man who put his family in front of everything. No matter what the circumstance, he was the most unselfish person you could meet. He literally would give his shirt off his own back. At any age, when faced with a personal, business, or financial decision, I always found myself coming back to one simple question. What would my dad do? His character is the foundation of my conscience. My father's teachings were endless. Let me share a few. He never let another man down. He fulfilled every obligation he ever undertook. His word was his bond, and everyone knew it. I never heard him utter a lie nor intentionally deceive. He worked hard for a living, raising us as a single father since we were toddlers while building his business. Not an easy task, by no means. But by doing that, it installed the hard work ethic that Harley and I follow till this day. He walked the talk. If he said he was going to do it, he did. He started his window company in the basement of his house, and everyone laughed. He had in the plain dealer a little picture of him like this, and it was like a Polaroid. Let Mikey do it was his first slogan. And everyone laughed at his pictures, and he told Harley and I, he said, watch, boys, let everyone laugh. Pretty soon I'm going to put these companies out of business. And that's what he did. Breaking through barriers. He constantly reminded my brother and I how each Magden generation broke a barrier in business. His grandfather broke the first barrier, coming over from Lithuania on the boat, and started a produce business where he worked as a little boy. Then his father broke another barrier by starting a carpet company from scratch, which at one time became one of the largest carpet companies in Northeast Ohio in the 70s. And then our father broke the next barrier with Regency Windows, creating the largest window retailer in Northeast Ohio and the famous Mikey character. And now, with my brother and I, breaking the next barrier, building the 5th largest window retailer in the country, Window Nation. Then came the huge success story of Regency Windows. For those that have lived in Cleveland for years, our dad was like the Buddy's carpet of windows. If you recall Buddy, his slogan was, I don't care about making money, I just love selling carpet. And that catchphrase sold tons of carpet and caught on like wildfire. Well, my father's catchphrase, as many of you know, was at the end of every commercial, he held a wad of cash out saying, I'm going to save you a lot of money. After a year of blasting it on the airways, it was an instant success. Sure, his commercials became obnoxious at times, but people loved them. There was a story told in The Plain Dealer, and he has it framed in his office, of a young child that was in a coma. And when that commercial came on in the hospital, the child awoke. I remember selling windows to a client in Parma, Ohio, and they said their youngest son's first word was Mikey. True story. Mikey was everywhere and touched everyone, but one thing that was unique about our father was he didn't really like the limelight. He didn't like the attention when he was in public. He did it for the business and knew it would get the public's attention to generate business. People would come up to him in public while we were at dinner or a local department store, and they'd say, hey, there's Mikey. He'd walk by and give a light wave. Our father was the comedian. I can't leave that out, as Harley had mentioned. They say laughter is food for the soul, and that's why everyone loved him. He was always joking around, making people laugh. He had a handful of jokes that he rotated when he met strangers, and we had to hear them for the past, 30-some-odd years. We knew he'd get a kick out of telling them, so we never would ruin the punchline, and everyone fell for them every time. And like Harley said, as a matter of fact, when the nurse came in, like 2 days before, a day before he got released, he goes, yeah, you got up doc on your shirt. And the lady's like, what are you talking about? And then, boom, she fell for it, and another friend was made. When my father retired in 2004, he took up his favorite hobby, cars, like Harley had mentioned. By the way, for those of you that know Harley and I, that hobby has rubbed off on us. He would always tell us his first car he paid $500 for, and it was some Vauxhall, a car that we had no clue about until we had to Google it. His memory for cars, like my brother said, was like no other. We'd say, "What's that car?" And lo and behold, he knew the exact model, year, everything. He saved a picture of virtually every car he owned, which probably crept into the hundreds. But when he retired, he started collecting old muscle cars, which he started his hobby to show his cars and meet a new group of friends at these shows. In addition to car collecting, he loved to work out. But there is a big difference between his workouts and what you and I would call working out. So when I go to the gym, you have a routine, you do some weights, cardio, stretch, you do a little thing. And then not my dad. Mikey was arms, and arms. He would always say, "Hey, how big are your guns? How big are your arms?" Aaron, my response was, "Not as big as yours, Dad." He must have gone to the gym 3-4 times a week and did curls for hours upon end, and boy, did he have some serious guns. I think at the age of 65, I think he measured it at 17s. As he enjoyed retirement, he was blessed with 7 amazing grandchildren, which he cherished like no other, teasing them with various pinches, his famous, he'd go alcohol rub, and then act like he'd given them a shot. Screaming out, "Who wants to go to the toy store?" And all the kids would run and were ready to go to the toy store, and making noises that no one could replicate. He was the famous Papa Mikey. But as I discuss all of this, there's one person that has been the rock throughout his entire life, and that's his wife, Shelley. Shelley has been an amazing wife to my father and a companion that most men would die for over 30 years. They did everything together. Car shows, maybe not top on her list, photography, workout, shop on their computers, and just spend time together like lovers do. Shelley was by his side and took care of him till his last breath, a task that I don't think many people could have done, and we love her even more for all her power and strength during this challenging time. Dad will miss you and love you forever. And as Billy Joel says, only the good die young. Thank you.
Two 2,000 years ago, King Solomon intoned a blessing. He said, Zichrono livracha, may his memory be for a blessing. And we pray that Mikey's memory endure among us all as a blessing. In your own time, O God, when we too are called to enter eternity, may we leave this life secure in the faith that with you is the fountain of life, that in your light we shall see light. The dust returns to the earth as it was, the spirit to God who gave it. Receive, dear God, in mercy the soul of our departing Mike. Grant him that everlasting peace that you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor mind has grasped it, still it is our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion. May I ask those of you who are able to please rise. El malei rachamim shochein bamromim, hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina, im kiloshim utohorim kezohar harakia mazilim et nishmat hachaver shelanu shehalach laolamo. Ba'al harachamim yastirehu b'seter kenafav laolamim, v'itzur b'tzorcha chayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato v'tanuach b'shalom ha'mishkavo, v'nomar. Amen. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest unto the soul of Michael J. Magden, who has departed this world. Source of mercy, bring him into your presence and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The eternal God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. The ancient sage offers us wisdom. Fear not death, he wrote. We are destined to die. We share it with all who have ever lived and with all who will ever be. Bewail the dead, hide not your grief, do not restrain your mourning. But remember, continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory rest. Be consoled when the soul departs. Death is better than a life of constant pain, and eternal rest than eternal sickness. Seek not to understand why. It is too difficult for you. Search not for what is hidden from you. Be not overoccupied with what is beyond you, for you have been shown more than you can understand. As a grain of sand on the shore, as a drop of water in the sea, are a person's few days in eternity. The good things in life last for limited days, but a good name endures forever. Mike's family would like to let you know that they will be observing Shiva today after interment until 4 o'clock, this evening from 7 to 9, and Tuesday and Wednesday from 2 to 5 and 7 to 9. And in lieu of flowers, please consider a contribution in Mike's memory for lung cancer research at the Cleveland Clinic. It is written that he has achieved much who has lived well, laughed often, and loved with a full heart, who has gained the respect of the wise and the trust of the young, who has filled a place, accomplished some task, who has left the world better than he found it, who has appreciated the true and the beautiful, who has looked for the good in others and given of the good he had, whose life was an inspiration, and we pray his memory will be a benediction. If you are able, please join me in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We close this portion of our service with these words from Chaim Potok. We live less than the time it takes to blink an eye if we measure our lives against eternity. So it may be asked, what value is there to a human life? There is so much pain in the world. What does it mean to have to suffer so much if our lives are nothing more than the blink of an eye? I learned a long time ago that the blink of an eye in itself is nothing, but the eye that blinks, that is something. A span of life is nothing, but the person who lives the span is something. A person can fill that tiny span with meaning. Meaning is not automatically given to life. It is hard to fill one's life with meaning. But a life filled with meaning is worthy of rest. We will continue at the cemetery.